Hey, I'm your host, the Dr. Danko, come on in. You've been missing out, so let's begin. Pumpkin_crumb is your host here too. When you hear the beat, you know what to do. Why didn't you warn me? Why didn't you warn me now? Why didn't you warn me? Why didn't you warn me? Hey. Good evening and welcome to Why Did Not You Warn Me? I'm your host, Matthew, the Dr. Danko.
And I'm your co-host, Hillary Crumb. You almost said the Matthew Danko podcast, didn't you?
A little bit, only because you had just said it. But don't call it that.
Right.
Anyway. So...
Don't touch the desk.
No, it's fine. I think it's because this carpet in all the rooms, because it's all the same, is very, like... When you put something on it, it gets moves. The impression of it like super quickly. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to take a little while for this desk to sort of sink into where it is right now. So it'll become more structurally sound. But I will try not to touch it so that everything doesn't fall down. You
said sink in, and my immediate thought was in sync because it's going to be May. Or rather, it is
May.
May 1st, I woke Matt up by playing It's Gonna Be May.
Right, but that's not like the
Can
first
you
line of the song.
absolutely stop being so critical?
I'm not being critical, I'm being factual.
Something like, you've been hurt, babe, that ain't no lie.
That and the whole build-up, because I remember when I was a kid, because I had Backstreet Boys CDs, but
Obviously.
I definitely listened to NSYNC a lot too.
Sure.
And that particular music video was my favorite.
Because of the toys, probably.
Probably subconsciously.
Toy store.
But it was the fact that they were like real-life action figures.
Right, they were doing the puppet thing. It was very symbolic. And then we go into the era of no strings attached.
Yes.
Which, you know,
it was
some evolution for NSYNC.
Yes, the growth.
Right.
You could see them grow
Backstreet
as
Boys
artists.
have not grown.
No.
Like, to this day.
Show them what you're made of.
Which is the exact same thing they were made of in the 90s.
I know. I mean, I don't know where all of NSYNC is, but Justin Timberlake's doing pretty well for us.
Justin Timberlake is like the only one from that era that anyone even knows anything about currently.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair to say.
He's the only one that got a career.
Yeah, and like consistently. Like he's been an actor, he's been, you know, still making music and like comedy and like doing the Lonely Island stuff. Like
I can't even name all the members of NSYNC. I know that Lance Bass is gay.
Well, yeah.
That's all I know.
He almost went to space once.
Really?
Yeah, that was like a thing. They were going to send him to space.
Okay.
It didn't happen.
To sing? Like, what?
Yeah,
they
were going to do a USO tour on the moon. And so they wanted Lance Bass. No one else.
Right,
just
not
him.
like NSYNC. Just Lance Bass.
Right.
Perfect.
I think Joey Fatone's like on a reality show. But other than that, I have no idea.
It was a weird tangent that we just went on.
But anyways, so...
check out the Backstreet Boys documentary, Show 'Em What You're Made Of, because it was made in like 2009, and it's the best thing I've ever watched. It should still
be on Netflix, because why wouldn't it be?
Right.
Where else is it playing?
Everywhere, ideally.
But I'd imagine there's going to be another one sometime soon. I
hope so.
Just, where are they now?
They're performing in Vegas. They have a
permanent spot
in Vegas.
They have a setup there in Vegas. That's... I mean, good for them, though. Like, because it's very, like, obviously all 90s stuff lives in the 90s. Like, they've found a way to stay alive and making music, even if it's not, like, mainstream. They're at least still performing somewhere in the world.
The best part of it is that they have no idea that the world has moved on.
Right. They still live like it is the 90s.
Like it's the 90s. They have no idea that they're completely irrelevant. Yeah. People don't care if they're making new stuff. That's not why anybody goes to see a Backstreet Boys concert.
They'd probably make more money if they just kept doing their old stuff.
Yeah, if they would like re-release Millennium, you bet your ass I would buy that.
Yeah, they could totally do that.
Right. I want to hear them do As Long As You Love Me, like, you know, Shape of My Heart, I think.
Yeah.
Is what it's, like, you know, the classics.
Yes.
Quit playing games with my heart.
Yeah.
I want it that way. I'll keep naming them until you stop.
No, but I'm happy for them wherever you guys are.
Good for Vegas, the Backstreet Boys. Yeah.
Keeping on.
So
anyways, what you'll probably notice is that this isn't Thursday night or Friday morning.
I was going to mention that as well.
We are in the process of sort of picking a new day for when our podcast will be recorded and air. We're recording Sunday afternoon. I got off work kind of early, so we're, we have some free time. I generally don't like to podcast in the afternoon or the morning because, I introduce the show as good evening. Yes, because I'm a night owl and I'm more awake and, can process more at night.
Sure.
But I also don't like to, if I podcast or if we podcast, it takes up an hour and a half.
Right.
And then there's the whole editing process, which I don't really edit the show, but I do put the intro and outro music on it, and then I have to upload it to YouTube. Minutes. So there's at least a 2-hour process ahead of me, and that eats up the night if I've closed at work, and then I have to eat, and then I do this, and then it's I have to get ready for bed. Yeah,
I have to be at work super early, no matter what I'm doing. The zoo, I have to leave here by 7:30. I'm going to start a job on Monday that I will have to be there by 7:15, which I think means leaving here at 6:30.
Yeah, something
which hurts
stupid.
Me in my soul.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were unemployed for the past couple of months. Right. So picking one day of the week, that the podcasting might be the only thing we had to do that day. So now we're trying to fit it into a working life, and it's going to take some trial and error, I would imagine. And, it might end up going up on different days, just whatever's more convenient that week.
I mean, I think because we're not super popular,
I don't think it's going to matter.
It doesn't matter.
As long as we text your mom and give her a heads up.
Right. No. I know the guys talking about shit. They, the GTAS podcast, they listen every now and then.
Right.
But
we're funny sometimes. Yeah. Not consistently,
but
sometimes.
We don't have to be. The show is for us.
We're doing this for us, babe.
Exactly.
Right.
But eventually maybe we'll get more consistent with it. But as long as we don't go a week without doing it,
exactly,
that's really all I care about. And,
same.
Even though I was pushing it off, until we had some free time and it wasn't we do this and then we have to get ready for bed. And then,
right.
Because I'm real weird about starting the next day. I like enjoying the downtime I have.
Right.
Because of my anxiety.
Right.
But it's cool. We'll find, sort of a groove we'll get in. But right now we can kind of just freeform it and figure out
It's going to be
works
trial and error for a little bit, but we will get one podcast done a week.
Right.
So.
That's the goal.
Right.
So what have you been reading or have read or finished reading or
Thank you
go
for
through
that.
everything?
So I read another Jodi Picoult book that I've read before. But this one I had only read once, and I didn't actually remember how it ended. Mm-hmm. And I purposefully have not mentioned anything about the plot to you this week because it's insane, and I thought that your reactions would be better live.
Okay. Cool. So let's do this.
So it's called Change of Heart. And at the very beginning of the book, they're at the sentencing phase of a murder trial. Okay. This guy named Shay Byrne is convicted of the murder of a police officer and his stepdaughter.
Okay.
So he is sentenced to death row.
Shit.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's New Hampshire. New Hampshire's first death row inmate in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bye Shay. We get the point of view because it's Jodi Picoult. We get a bunch of different POVs. We get the police officer's wife and the mother of the little girl. She's one of our points of view. A guy named Michael, who the first time we meet him is one of the jurors who convicts Shay, and then goes off and becomes a priest because he feels so guilty about sentencing a man to death row, ends up being Shay's spiritual advisor before he dies.
Yikes.
Yeah. So those two, an ACLU lawyer who picks up this case, and there's someone else. Oh, one of the other... Was Chandler there? Yes, he was. Yes. And then a death row inmate another Jesus Christ. Another
Jesus Christ was there too?
Oh, just fucking wait. Another, like, top security, violent crime inmate. Who we find out is, his name's Lucius. He's a...
Malfoy.
Yeah. He's a gay man who's in prison for killing his lover because he caught him with another guy.
Crime of passion.
Right. But the guy, Lucius, is also dying of AIDS in jail. Which is great. This isn't even...
It's a whirlwind. I know.
It's not even, like, the plot yet. So...
every time you describe a Jodi Picoult book to me, I'm like, there's so many details. They're so
absolutely
in-depth.
insane.
But continue.
And, like, this one isn't even one of the better ones.
Okay, this is just like a...
So we have the issue, like, you know, the social justice angle is that it's a death row case.
Yeah.
But it's not really, because... So June is the wife of this police officer.
Okay.
Has another daughter. You know, she was pregnant at the time of the murders.
Mm-hmm.
Gives birth to Claire, who has some sort of heart defect. So we have, like, the sentencing and everything, and then we fast forward, I think, 8 years.
Okay.
Maybe it might be like 10, maybe more. So Claire is, like, growing up with this bad heart, and she and her mother have been through, like, a lot trying to deal with it. And then we go over to Shay, who is in jail and has decided that he's lost all of his appeals. He is going to die.
Okay.
Decides that the issue that he is going to fight for is that when he dies, he wants to be able to donate his organs so that Claire can have his heart. Yeah.
Jeez.
The problem is that when you execute someone by lethal injection, the organs are not viable for donation. So enter this ACLU lawyer who thinks that if she takes this case, it will shine light on the death penalty and blah, 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 blah. And she's sort of hinging it on, like, First Amendment, being able to follow your religion up to and even including the manner of your death.
Yeah, yeah. Because there's sort of somewhat a civil rights thing. Like, if I want to donate my body to science or whatever, or be an organ donor, I have that right because they're my organs and everything. Right. But so, like, how does that, you know,
we have a couple of the balls in play.
Yeah.
Then... So Shay is on, it's I tier, is where he is living in jail with Lucius and these other, like, crazy people.
Theodore Bagwell and
C-Note. Prison Break. Strange, unexplainable things start happening on I tier.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think of how it starts, like, what the first thing. The water turns to wine. Yeah. So they go to, like, turn on their sinks and, like, flush their toilets. Yeah. Like, all of the water just on this tier has turned to wine.
Huh.
Yeah. Then we start seeing a series of what look like miracles that very closely are shadowing things that Jesus Christ did.
Right.
In all the stories. He has, like, Shay has a piece of bazooka bubblegum that he somehow shares between the 7 inmates.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
It's so weird. Lucius has AIDS, which I mentioned because he wakes up one morning and the sores on his face are gone, and it looks like, for all intents and purposes, his blood work comes back completely normal. And this is a man who has been very sick for a very long time. But, like, Shay/Jesus cured the leper. One of the inmates catches a bird and has been keeping it, like, as a secret pet in his cell. The bird appears to have died, and Shay
brings it back
puts
to life.
his hands on the bird, and suddenly it's twittering away again.
Jesus. Yeah.
Possibly. So enter Michael, the juror turned priest who becomes Shay's spiritual advisor. And it's just like a whole crazy thing of like, are these really miracles?
Yeah.
Is it just perception? Is it like, what are we fucking dealing with here? And how does that affect, you know, his intention to donate his heart? And like Maggie, this lawyer, who she kind of annoys me. I didn't particularly like her. She's building this case surrounding the idea that he should be able to die how he wants.
Right.
And like her intention is to drag religion into the courtroom, which goes against everything she, as an ACLU lawyer and a Jew, believes. Yeah. And we're also getting like chapters occasionally from June, who is telling us that her daughter is getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And then she gets contacted by these people. I want to say Maggie, the attorney, gets in touch with her and says that the guy who murdered her former husband and daughter wants to give her ailing daughter his heart. And her response is absolutely the fuck not. Like, why? Why would I do that? And like things just keep getting crazier and crazier and crazier as they do in Jodi Picoult novels. And then like we're all the time we're wondering like, is Shay just pulling one over on everybody? What does he believe about himself? Like he's quoting from this gospel that's not even in the Bible. It's one of the, I think they're called the Gnostic Gospels. It's the Gospel of Thomas. Yeah, so
something like that. Like
quoting from this weird, like, esoteric text that he claims to not even know what it is. And he's kind of a weird guy. It sounds like possibly on the autism spectrum. Just like off-putting to have a conversation with. Gets like caught up in emotions and unable to like communicate clearly what he's trying to get across.
Why didn't you warn me?
Exactly. So we end up back in court trying to resolve this issue. Claire is like getting sicker and sicker and sicker. June at some point decides that she will take the heart. Because like somehow it ends up being a perfect match for her daughter, which is crazy. And everybody's like, this should not be a thing. So at least the characters in the book know that, you know, it's stupid as well. The court hearing goes in Shay's favor. So they decide, apparently hanging is a viable option to like...
seems a little less humane.
It does seem a little bit less humane, but the way in which you die means that your organs are able to be donated.
No, I figured that. I mean, I also remember, I think it was an episode of House, like, in theory, what they could do is operate on this dude, remove Shay. Remove the heart, so it's viable. Keep him alive on a life support system of some kind, and then do the lethal injection. That way, you know, it's still... Because, like, you're dealing with the death penalty, so it's like they're dying for a crime they committed, like, as almost an eye for an eye sort of thing. Like, they committed a murder, so we're gonna murder them.
And the issue that the court is dealing with is that his sentence was death by lethal injection.
So that's even more to the point of, like, okay. Well, like, so it's that thing of, like, you're still taking a human life, so you kind of want to be as least shitty with it as possible. Like, I can't believe the electric chair was a thing at one point.
Oh, I know. Like what are
that's ridiculous and awful and all this other stuff. But, like, so lethal injection, yes, they're dying for the crime they committed, but they're not, like, suffering so much.
Right. Well,
I mean, I don't, like... As
the data
much
is apparently
as...
shaky on that because, like, the injection, if it reacts to you weirdly or the mixture isn't exactly right, then you'll be paralyzed but in, like, skin-melting pain until you die, so... Okay, well, then we can think of something else. And, like, so we also got a lot of input from a doctor as one of the characters, and he was going to be involved in making sure the hanging was... as humane as possible, because like if it's if the noose is in a certain place and the drop is at a certain angle, then your neck just snaps and it's instantaneous. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not, like, suffering, like,
right.
gasping
You're not
for
hanging
breath.
there. Right.
Okay, well...
Yeah, so, like... Yeah, it was
it's
crazy.
sticky,
and of course,
but...
because it's Jodi Picoult, there's some, like, crazy twist at the end. But he does die.
He is Jesus.
We never really
Comes
know.
back.
He does die. Claire does get the heart, and...
So we never really know whether or not it was just bullshit?
I mean, there are, like,
or,
some
like...
things get explained, but some things also don't. And sort of, like, Maggie, this lawyer, her father's a rabbi, because, of course, we have a priest and a rabbi and a possible Christ. And the rabbi is explaining a little bit about Jewish belief and also his personal brand of Jewish belief, that, like, his idea that's supported by the Torah is that, like, every generation has someone who has the potential to be the Messiah.
Yeah,
into
I've heard
every generation
something
is born
like
a
that.
slayer, you know.
Yes, I was thinking part of that as well. But it's true, like, yeah, why not?
Right, but, you know, and then Maggie's like, well, why hasn't there been a Messiah yet? Like, just because they had the potential, if they didn't rise to it, then they weren't meant to be the Messiah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was weirdly religious, and, like, I didn't love
one wacky
many of
game
the
show.
characters.
Like, there's a lot of shit going on.
Always.
Yeah.
Like,
and I mean, Jodi Picoult,
books.
obviously, she's a writer, but, like, when she does her research for shit like this, she's not a crime writer per se.
Right. She talks to people. Like, she's done books on so many different things.
Yeah, from everything you've told me, like, you could almost pick up just any Jodi Picoult book and it won't be exactly the, like, maybe similar, obviously similar writing styles, but, like, similar ways she gets to certain things.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar formula.
Yeah,
but,
formula, that's
like,
the word I was looking for.
But the world that it's based in is so completely different. Like, there's one that's, like, a woman who researches elephants and, like, goes and lives with elephants. So I learned so much about elephants in that book. One, like, an Amish girl is the center of it, so the character goes and lives in Amish country. Like, just crazy specific
things.
Yeah.
So you get a variety of it as the reader of, like, as the fan of a Jodi Picoult book. That's pretty cool, though.
And, like, you know, I've said before that some of the books are hit or miss, but I own almost all of them. Because, like, the one thing I know is that it will be a page turner. Like, regardless of how invested I think I am, I'm gonna tear through it.
Yeah, because you finished that one pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think it was a little less than a week.
And you had read it before, you said? Or
many years ago. But yeah,
but it's just crazy.
It's completely crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's... And I started reading a book that I picked up by Gail Forman called I Have Lost My Way, and I'm probably going to finish that today or tomorrow, but I'll talk about it next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, super cool.
So, what have you been watching?
Okay, well, I've been watching a few things, because I've been sort of in this slump of not a slump, but just, like, finding the time to watch shit.
Right.
And then earlier this week, I got news that Arrested Development was coming back from the creator Michael Hurwitz. Not just that there was going to be a new season 5 sometime soon, but that, you know, the show was on Fox back in the day. It had 3 seasons, and it got canceled because nobody was watching. And, like, the show, the way it tells its jokes, like, it was very much aware of the kind of show it was by season 3 and, like, the shit they could do. And in, like, one of the final episodes of season 3, there's a whole episode where, like, the Bluth family is trying to throw this dinner to save their family, like a charity thing. But like, that's what was going on in their world, but in our world, it was like a save our show type thing. So they were talking like, what about the home builders organization? Do they want us? No, the HBO isn't going to want us. And like, well, I think it's showtime. We should have a show during dinner and like do all this other stuff. So there was a lot of double talk and like, then it might have been that same episode or the episode afterwards. They just were going to do all the things that they never got to do. Like, there's a scene where it's like, put your 3D glasses on now, and then for like 2 seconds of that scene, it turns into like a 3D type movie or whatever, like the red and blue type thing.
Yeah.
Just wacky stuff, and like, you know how they do the previously on in most shows. This one had that, but then was like, and you won't guess what happens tonight. One of these characters, and then it shows all the characters will die, and then like halfway through the episode, one of the characters that we've never seen or grown attached to makes this offhanded racist comment, and we're like, the narrator's like, we'll just tell you now, she's the one that dies. So like they do all this crazy stuff. So then the show went off the air and all that stuff. But then Netflix became a thing, and like they started doing their own original series and everything. So it picked up this show for season 4, which like Netflix is the home of Arrested Development, in my opinion, because it's like Netflix can get away with pretty much anything with how they market their stuff. And like the build up to season 4, there would be things, because they had all 3 seasons of Arrested Development on there. There would be like fictional shows that existed on on Arrested Development. They would make like little clip art, and like as if you could watch it on Netflix, so that when you clicked on it, like the Judge Reinhold show, like his courtroom show, because his name is Judge Reinhold, and they decided to put him into a reality show where he plays a judge. Okay. But they put up a little photo of that, and then you could click on it as if to watch that show. It's fine. It's not going to fall.
The tick is going to fall and eat you.
It's not. It's fine. So then when you click on it and to watch that show, it jumps to that part in a certain episode where they do a little skit from that show and stuff like that. So like,
that's cool.
Even like just weird references you could find all over the internet, just as the like marketing, sort of like how Deadpool was marketing their shit. But then season 4 came, and it was shot completely different than the rest of the show. Like the way it was styled, each episode sort of focused on one central character, and it would be their journey throughout that episode, and the other characters would sort of interact with them in certain scenes, but then it would still fall back on them, like on the main focus of that character. So all building up to the final episode, which would like bring all the stories together and like see how it plays out. But nobody really liked that. They were like, I want the original style of it back. And so these 2 guys on Reddit decided to take all the footage from season 4 and re-edit it to be how the show originally was. Okay. So because there's been such a long time between seasons 4 and 5, the creator decided, you know what, I'm going to do this the right way, and like re-edited season 4 so much so that it's called like season 4 remix. I can't remember the full title, but it's like released as a remix season that's available now on Netflix. It came out on Cinco de Cuatro, which is a fictional holiday that they've created in the universe of Arrested Development. Okay. So when I found out that show was coming back and that there was going to be a new season 4, I decided to rewatch all 3 seasons because it's been so long since I've watched it. So I decided to rewatch that. And I could talk about Arrested Development forever. I know you're not a fan of the show. Nope. And that's fine. But the show has a lot of funny qualities throughout it, and especially with the Saddam Hussein stuff later on in season 3. Who doesn't love a good Saddam Hussein joke? It's just tied into a lot of the shit that goes on in the show. Okay. But it's very timely too, because it was like mid-2000s. Right. There's also a Prison Break episode where like Tobias is like falling apart, and he's in a wheelchair, and he like goes to high five the Michael Cera's character, and he's like, "Don't leave your Uncle Teabag hanging," and jokes like that. And then they're like, "We need to get into the prison because there's like a gala going on that night, and they don't have a way in or something." And he's like, "It's not a Jamba Juice, Michael. It shouldn't be that hard to break into," as a reference to Prison Break, where he says like, "We're not breaking out of a Jamba Juice, gentlemen. We need to put some work into this." It doesn't faze you at all. It's fine. It's just you and like 2 other people who would have appreciated that reference. You know what? Yes. But
I told you about the Prison Break reference in Change of Heart. the Lucius, the gay guy, said that he imagined heaven as being full of guys that look like Wentworth Miller from Prison Break.
Yes.
Sorry, go on.
I'm a huge fan of any Prison Break related anything.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if you know that about me.
I wonder why that is.
I totally lost my train of thought.
Breaking.
So you don't like Arrested Development, I know that.
Right.
But anyway, so I've actually also been watching season 2 of Scream, the television show, because it's been a long time since I watched season 1. So much so that I couldn't even remember what happened in season 1 when I started watching season 2.
I hate that.
And I know, so like I did have to go back to the final episode of that season and like find the reveal and all that stuff, because the premise of Scream is like, there's a serial killer on the loose and everyone's a suspect, and like we have to figure out why they're doing this and who's next and things like that. And I love a good murder mystery. Well, I was just gonna say mystery, but I was like, yeah, well, it's technically a murder mystery because everyone's dying. And in the movies, Wes Craven directed them, and he did A Nightmare on Elm Street and like made a lot of horror movies from like when I started getting into horror movies.
Gotcha.
And he seems to be such a great guy. And like,
I think you could grab a beer with him.
A little bit. And I always thought the movies were very clever because they're meta humor, and they were coming out at a time where like not a lot of people did that sort of thing. They were horror movies that were making fun of being horror movies while still being a horror movie.
Right.
And Jamie Kennedy is also in it, and he plays the video store clerk that like knows it all about movies and like the rules to survive a horror movie. So I identified with that. But like, so the movies really got me interested in those stories that they take. And Timothy Olyphant's in Scream 2.
Nice.
Spoilers, he's actually one of the killers.
Damn.
But
now I don't have to watch it.
I know, but he has some good stuff in that movie.
Is he just his character from Santa Clarita?
A little bit.
Good.
But he's in college.
Huh.
Which is, because that's how young he was in that movie.
Jeez.
It was in the early 90s.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a while.
Yeah. I think the first one came out in 96, I want to say.
Okay.
So then 98, and then probably 99 or 2000. Because then Scream 4 came out in 2010. Okay. And that was more like, what happens if this is a remake and there's a whole new like generation of kids 10 years later, and Nev Campbell's still in it, but like Nev Campbell, David Arquette, and Courtney Cox are all in it.
What does Nev Campbell sound like?
I can't even remember the line, but it's a party of 5. All right, that's enough. Any questions, you can email us. So the TV show takes that same formula of like whodunit and throws in some red herrings and shit like that, but makes it an episodic adventure that like it's not. So none of the real details of Scream are in it. It's almost as if, and I would have to rewatch season 1 at some point, but like it's almost as if Woodsboro, which is where the fictional town that Scream takes place in, isn't a thing. It's almost like this is a new town with a new generation of kids that like this is happening to. So they never reference Scream, and they don't use the same mask, like that ghost face mask you see. Like that's one of my favorite masks because you can find it almost anywhere, like at Rite Aid or anything during Halloween. Like you can pick it up.
Everybody has one.
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing in the movie is like, a bunch of kids like buy it because it was a popular Halloween costume and like play pranks on other people, even though there's a serial killer on the loose with that same mask. So it's like, just why would you do that? Yeah. Right. But so this show has its own mask that's a version of that, but not really. And there's like this whole backstory with, this kid, Brendan James, who was like accused of killing people or kidnapping somebody. I don't remember season 1 at all. But then like, they survive it season 1. Some of them survive it. There is a good amount of death. And then it starts happening again. Amount. Just the right amount. About average. And then in season 2, they start going through it again slowly. And like, the character Noah is the character who watches all the TV and movies and stuff, and is sort of like trying to build his idea of who it could be, and like he has what he calls the murder board because he's been putting pieces together and like figures out that, you know, maybe one of the main characters is involved and sort of gets close to cracking it. And I'm only halfway through that season, but it sucks because it's on MTV, and MTV is like the second-rate CW. Right. Because at least the CW, like, their storytelling... So the problem with both networks
is the improbably beautiful
people in these ridiculous situations.
Right.
This is the problem I have with the 100.
The 100 is at least sort of coherently
that's
strung
what I'm
together.
saying. Like,
yeah, I figured that was where you were going.
We're in season 5 of the 100 right now, I think.
Which God even knows if we're gonna watch it.
Maybe.
We'll get to that in a second.
I'm thinking that, like, we'll wait for it to come out completely and then binge watch it. I think that'll be easier than waiting.
Because I don't care about it enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing with the 100 is that the plot and, like, even the characters are somewhat compelling, and it is a well-structured story, so much so that, like, from where season 1 starts and where season 4 ends is, like, 2 different shows.
Insane.
But, like, the way they get there is pretty intelligible and, like, makes sense for the universe that they create.
It's mostly coherent for within that,
But on MTV, everyone's dumb.
Yeah.
Which can be a problem on the CW. But, like, the story... I think the only reason I'm watching this show is because of its tie to the movies.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But there are parts of the story that, like, I'm really interested in, but we never spend enough time on it. So that I'm sort of just waiting until we get to that plot point in the episode that's keeping me going through it. Otherwise, I'd be like, I don't give a shit. Some of these actors aren't even that good. Like, there's 2 characters I actually like. The main character I don't care about. And then, like... they introduce a new person, and because it's a murder mystery show, the biggest draw for me is figuring out who it is before they reveal it. Okay. So that when they do reveal it, I could be like, ah, yes. Or be surprised and then be like, that was worth watching.
Okay.
Like, that's why I'm invested.
Okay.
That, and it's somewhat tied to the movies.
Right.
But, like, overall, it's not a great show.
Yeah, the only MTV show that I've watched is Teen Wolf.
Yeah, which is similar.
And, like, season 1 is, like, kind of okay. It kind of makes sense. I don't remember what season it was that I gave up, but we had gotten to the point that where jaguars were a thing, and I was like, I'm out. I'm done. I can't.
Yeah, that's a lot.
The improbably beautiful teenagers have swapped partner combinations so many times. I can't keep track of it anymore. Yeah. And now there are were jaguars. I'm done.
Yeah, there's no going back on that. Like,
no.
That's awful. But this is at least, like, there are parts that are gripping me.
Okay.
And, like, Noah even has a podcast called The Morgue, where he's, like, breaking down the details and is like, what will happen next?
It should be The Morgue, you know.
Yeah, but he was going... convoluted plot. The Morgue was actually the... spoilers. The
oh no!
The killer in the first season, it was her podcast.
Okay.
She was guising as this, like, reporter type thing and gaining information from the people she was interviewing.
Is guising a word?
I think so. I think.
I don't know.
It sounds like a word.
Verb that.
I can, and I did.
Okay.
So he kind of inherits it to sort of wrap up the story, but then when it starts happening again, he has to, like, bring it back and keep the story going. But yeah, so I've been watching Scream, the TV series, and then I just watched, I'm going to do this real quick. I'm just catching up on everything. I'm going to go get
a snack.
No, it's fine. We're fine. Yeah. I watched Jeepers Creepers 3.
Jeepers Threepers?
Jeepers Threepers. I did think of it as that a few times.
Oh, good. I'm doing my job then.
It is a horror movie, as you would imagine. I figured out that I can talk about it without giving details, like, so that you won't be afraid. So that, like,
don't know.
I do know, because I'm not, like, the biggest part of that movie is, like, some of the details about the killer itself, but I'm not going to give those details. I'm just going to brush over them.
Gloss over.
Yeah. But Jeepers Creepers 3 is a movie that, you know, the horror community has been wanting for so long.
I bet the horror community is awful.
I
bet it's just a terrible group of people.
It's not. A lot of people that love horror movies are actually pretty sweet.
Is it just you?
No. They don't just make this shit for me.
I don't believe that.
But anyways.
Matthew Danko, kid. He needs another movie.
You know what? I wish that's how they thought. Because then I'd be like, you know what would be cool? Tusk 2.
Jeepers Forpers.
No. I don't think there's going to be another one because I don't know if it just came out, but I just read this online, is that the director was basically an asshole and committed some sort of sexual crime. So I doubt there's going to be another one.
Why is it everyone?
I don't know, but
why can't men be better?
That's asking too much.
Men ain't shit.
Hashtag men ain't shit.
If you get offended by that, you're one of the men that's shit.
Anyways, so skirting that problem, because I still watch the movie, and the first movie has Justin Long in it.
Okay.
Which is how I came...
You have a little bit of a man crush on him.
I do, because Justin Long's a good actor.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
It's a talent crush.
It is.
Okay.
Which is like how I watched the first Jeepers Creepers, like that.
Through a haze of affection.
No, I was just like, this guy's pretty cool. I'll watch this, and I was into horror movies at the time, so it made sense.
Okay.
So like the premise is this beast of some kind. We don't actually get like what it is.
Okay.
Comes out every 23 years on the 23rd day and feeds. And what it does is it takes like humans and like feeds on them, sort of replenishes any parts, regenerates, if you will, any parts that it needs. Like, if it loses a hand, it just finds a hand that fits.
Sure. If it fits, it hits.
Yeah. Obviously, it's done in a really creepy way that I won't get into.
Thank you.
But he has this big truck that he like cruises around in and has blacked out windows and whatnot, and like this really distinct horn that like you would know. It's almost like not the Cucaracha song, but like it's powerful and sounds like a foghorn and like it has a tone to it.
Okay.
Wow. And like they, in the first movie, it's just like they're doing a road trip. They're on Route 66, and then they come through this part in Pohock County, Texas, I think it takes place in. I don't know. And they run into this truck, and then chaos ensues.
Okay.
In the second one, it takes place, I want to say, very shortly after. But the thing is, it only happens every 23 years. So I don't think it was 23 years between these movies. I think it happens just on the same day or the same night or something. They never really explain the timeline. But anyways, there's a bus of like these jocks going to an out-of-state game.
Ain't that always the way?
And then this beast or whatever like slashes the tires from a distance, and like they see there's a flat tire and they're in the middle of nowhere, so they're gonna sort of stretch their legs, and then this weird shit happens, and then they all end up back on the bus, and they're like, they have a spare tire, so they get that fixed, but then it gets flat again due to this guy who makes this beast that makes his weapons are all made out of like human bones and shit. And he can fly, and there's some weird shit going on.
Was Chandler there?
But,
yes, he was.
So Jeepers Creepers 3, still don't know what fucking timeline it is. Like, it seems like it takes place after the first one, based on a few key scenes, and I think they get some of the same actors back. But they introduce a bunch of new characters. Okay. Don't give a shit about any of them.
Great.
Some of them die.
Cool.
And then, like, we get more about what this beast is, but not really. Like, they even throw more convoluted shit into it. So, like, this kid was, like, out driving one night and saw this thing go up into the air, and then this hand, like, falls out of the sky. It turns out it was the hand of that beast. Huh. So, like, he touches it or something and freaks out, and then decides he's gonna bury it in the yard.
Sure, right yard. Next to Jumanji.
Right. And like, he ends up dead somehow, and then the mom, like, you know, was mourning the loss of her son, and then like has visions of him like talking to
sugar plums,
talking to her about like, don't go out there and dig it up. You don't want to know it. It'll come back. It knows it's here. Blah blah blah. And then she touches it, and what happens is she says when she touches it, she understands what it is and where it came from. But the audience never gets to know what it is or where it comes from.
Of course.
And then there's this like, so like there's the police of Poho County, but then there's like this homemade, this unofficial group of people that have all experienced this beast before, and they have like these weird emblems that they made with like the little symbol of like the beast's head with a wing coming out of the back of it, like a kind of like these guys just decided, you know what, we're gonna fight crime and like let's become a team or something.
So it's
like,
the Justice League.
No, it's not, but somewhat it kind of is. So they like you don't understand, we've experienced this before, this is something from another world and blah blah blah. And then there's this one guy who has a cowboy hat and like a trench coat, and he's like the ultimate like bounty hunter /
Han Solo.
Creeper chaser.
Han Solo.
Not Han Solo.
No?
No.
What do I know?
Nothing. I'm just kidding.
I'm just leaving.
Kidding. No, don't leave. Anyways, so these teenage kids can't act for shit. No. You're just listing Star Wars characters.
Isn't Boba Fett a bounty hunter?
Yes. But you're missing the point.
Sorry. What the point?
He's like, you know, he's just... We don't even get any information about this dude.
Okay.
We don't get information a lot through this movie. Instead, we get these like shots that are slowed down for cinematic purposes, but don't actually have any action going on in them. And then we get some CGI like action shots of like a truck flipping over, but we see it through the window of the car and it's blurred out, so we can't really make it out entirely. And
so
then
this is bad editing.
Bad editing and bad like just the movie itself. Like there's a scene where this dude, because it's all taking place in the country, so this dude is like on this stack of hay that he's like loading up in trucks and stuff, and then his partner comes in and like crashes his car because he's just encountered the beast back there and is like all shaken up and his car is ripped to shit. But like we show the guy pushing the hay, and then we hear this crash, and then there's smoke all off screen, and then we take the reaction shot of the guy that's doing the hay, and then we pan to a car that's just crashed into the hay, and we see the kid behind the wheel. So we get no like action part of it, seeing it crash. And there was a lot of that throughout the movie. Like we see it and we hear it off screen and see like smoke and some effects of it, but then we don't actually see the points of contact or anything like that. Maybe it was a way to keep the budget down. I don't know.
Maybe.
But the story concludes in a very anticlimactic way.
Sounds on brand.
They get the beast, but then the only part that I thought was cool was the very end. Like the survivor girl makes it. She's like shaken up, but she's like, I'm getting better. I'm going out into the sun. And everything's fine. La-ti-da-ti-da. And then her boyfriend, who I guess this is her boyfriend now, who's seen some shit, is fine too. And he's like, I'm going to be going away for a few days, blah, blah, blah. Try not to, get into much trouble on my way back or while I'm gone or something like that. Sorry. Lost my own train of thought. And then he's like, at his pickup truck that he's just dropped off, and he out of the back of it, he pulls out this yellow jacket and puts the yellow jacket on, and it's the school jacket from the second movie, the school team that was going on this state trip. So he gets on the bus in the next scene to that same bus that ends up in the second movie. So the
timeline is completely fucked.
So it sort of takes place between Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2, but doesn't let you know where you are in space and time, and then has a cool little cameo from the girl from the first one. Wow. So, like, the tie-in at the end of that was very much akin to, like, the Final Destination movie. I think it was The Final Destination or Final Destination 5. Spoilers if you haven't seen those movies, but...
Final Destination.
No.
Final goes west.
But, like, that movie was super cool because it didn't let you know...
Rival? Yeah, it was.
Yes. No. Final Destination 5, which I think it was super cool because it didn't let you know where you were in time until the final scene of the movie where they, like, board the plane from the first movie and they see the kids from the first movie being escorted off the plane. Oh. So you know what's about to happen because it's, like, taking place... Like, they're gonna die anyway on the plane, and, like, it's super cool. Sorry, I got super excited there. So, like,
it's so cool.
It is, because, like,
that
I was super unimpressed by Final Destination 4. And then 5, I was like, I'll watch it just because I need to watch it. And then I was like, holy shit, this ending makes the whole movie worth it.
It's bad and then, for our apartment.
So it was similar to that in Jeepers Creepers 3, but I didn't care about the rest of the movie at all, even after that cool part at the end.
Thanks.
And, like, a lot of fans were probably disappointed. I wish Justin Long could make an appearance, even though he died in the first one.
I thought you were saying he had actually died.
Oh, no.
What?
No, I would be way sadder.
I know.
So that's what I've been watching.
Everything, basically.
Just those two things, and then Arrested Development I had to give a shout-out to.
Sure.
A long, drawn-out shout-out.
Because that's the Matthew Danko way.
So, what's next?
So... I totally forgot what was happening. I know. Well, okay. I think we have a couple of things to discuss.
Okay.
I know we want to talk about iZombie.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk about the 100 briefly.
The new episode?
Yeah, because we already did the old stuff.
I mean, we went hard
thoroughly,
on the old
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, all right. And then we watched an episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah, but I figured we would get that once we finish the finale.
Yeah, I think that'll be better.
Yeah, so now that we have a plan,
why
don't we do the 100 first?
Yeah, because that'll be quick.
So season 5 of the 100 started. My previous thoughts on the 100 is, like, I wanted to stop watching after Lexa died, but we finished out the season and it just ended, like, really interestingly for the CW.
Wait. The series had ended? Like, season 4 ended?
Yeah, season 4 ended.
I thought you meant, like, where it stopped. Ended very interestingly. Where you wanted to stop watching it after Lexa died. All right.
No, interesting things were still happening after Lexa, unfortunately.
Right.
So, like, season 4 was kind of crazy, and it ended with, like, a bunch of them going back into space again.
Yeah,
and some
spoilers
of them,
for the 100, if you haven't seen season 4.
Some of them being locked underground in a bunker, and then Clark, for all intents and purposes, left to die on Earth.
Yeah, she, like, had to do this one thing to, like, get a signal.
One goddamn thing.
She did, like, beat the storm before it happens and make it back to the base where they're getting in the ship to go back to the Ark.
She couldn't do it because she was too busy being angsty or whatever.
She wasn't fast enough.
She had to stop and do her eyebrows or something.
That wasn't true. She just was, like, half-assing it when she was there and then didn't have enough time to get back. And they were just like, she was like, you know what, if I don't make it back, just go without me. And that's what they did.
Right. And we were like, I wonder if they're going to actually go or if they're all going to die for Juan Heda, the master of death.
Right. So, like, they make it up into space, just barely.
Yeah.
Like, running out of power or air or something.
Everything, all of the
above. And, like, they make it to the Ark and then they turn it on.
Yeah, Clark had to do something to turn it on.
Yeah, like, there was a signal she had to send from the ground to
and at first,
it on.
like, it seems like she did not do it, but then things turn on and they're fine.
Yeah.
So we assume that, like, Clark is going to die because poisonous radiation is overtaking the Earth, but Clark is the main character, so she's not going to die, unfortunately.
And she's a Nightblood.
Right, which means she survived all of the toxic shit. The end of season 4 was, like, a 6 years later kind of thing.
It had to be a good amount of time. 6 years probably.
I think it was 6 because the people from the Ark were supposed to come down after 5.
Okay.
So it was 6 years later. There's been no contact from the Ark. The people from the bunker have not come out.
Yeah.
Clark has somehow picked up a small child.
Yeah.
And there was a ship descending that wasn't the people from the Ark, but ended up being like a space prisoner ship.
Yeah, a prison transport ship.
Right. So that was where season 4 ended.
And it was super like, what the fuck?
Right. Episode 1 of season 5, the majority of the whole fucking thing is just Clark wandering around in this radiation-soaked wasteland. Yeah.
So, like, not only do we just bypass the 6 years later thing, like, we jump back in
to the minute that this all happened.
Yeah. And then, like, it's like 42 days later, and she wakes up and, like, starts
being
like,
dramatic,
going out into the land and like finding her bearings, and she's like, I need water, and like she finds a vehicle, or maybe she doesn't find the vehicle right away, but like she stumbles into the desert,
right,
and is like super, dehydrated and depressed, and like throwing away all the shit she has on her, and is just like, I need water, and then like passes out on the ground.
Yeah, presumably to die.
Yeah.
And then she opens her eyes and sees a bird.
And she's like, oh, a bird.
Runs after it.
Like, oh, if a bird is here, that means I'll be safe. Because there'll be, like, water.
Also, my bigger issue is she has just, like, collapsed from heat and exhaustion and hunger and thirst. And now she's running after the bird.
Through the desert. But like, whatever. So she runs after the bird, makes it up this, like, dune, and then there's nothing. It's just a wasteland.
Right, as far as the eye can see.
And then she's like, fucking bird. And then she makes it back down.
She runs up the next dune.
And then she, like, finds the bird again, and she chases in the other direction, and then it's another dune, and then there's, like,
this improbably untouched jungle valley. Like,
so ridiculous.
Okay.
And then she was like a second away from blowing her brains out.
Yeah, like literally with a gun.
And then she's like, oh, a bird. And then like I'm safe. The girl who like survived 4 seasons of some intense shit. Like Mount Weather and like the Grounders and like...
And her girlfriend's demise in front of her.
Ice Nation and like a gladiator style kill for all, like...
Right.
She's been through some shit. Like the AI whole thing.
And it has ruined her. Like, she was kind of annoying to begin with. It has made her so much worse.
And then really this whole like desert walking thing. Regardless, like just wait for rain.
Right. Be fucking patient, Clark.
Or like...
I know it's the CW,
Earth
but chill
skills.
for one goddamn
that,
second. Yeah.
Like, you prepared for this. But anyway, so she's fine. She finds this small grounder who is a Nightblood.
Apparently. This little...
Yeah.
I say little girl. I think she's like 11, maybe 12.
When we meet her, she's like 11
she's
and 12.
Young, yeah.
But then she like... When they jump a little forward
then we
in time,
jump to 6 years.
We sort of, jump right back to where season 4 ended.
Right.
With the prison ship.
Right. We hear that the people on the Ark are okay. Mm-hmm. They don't have enough fuel to get back to the ground.
Yeah.
All we learn about the bunker is like in the final shot of the episode, we see we see this like gladiatorial combat happening in like a pit that's presumably in the bunker, and then it like pans up and there's Octavia sitting like, in a throne staring down at it, like, which is, it's probably better for the bunker that Octavia's in charge. Because,
I agree, but that's the thing though, is there wasn't only like Grounders and other tribes there was like the people from the Ark that were in not Arcadia.
Yeah.
Was it Arcadia?
Yeah, they
the
call
ground.
It Arcadia,
okay. Yeah. They're like survivors, and like presumably, Kane and
Abby.
Abby, I couldn't remember her name, and Jaha are also kicking.
Fuck Jaha. I want him to die.
But, maybe they just didn't use them for the first episode because there was a lot of information with the prison ship.
Because Clark was like on her own for 30 minutes of a 45-minute episode. Yeah. Like, not even exaggerating.
No,
it was
in CW
her.
fashion, like brooding and like falling apart for
I was
like
thinking
no
about
reason.
What like the shooting schedule must have looked like for that. So for the first episode, we really just need Clark.
Right.
Like, none of you even have to show up until next week.
I know. And I don't even know what like they like find the little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Clark kills them. Or one of
prisoners?
Them? Yeah, I don't remember really.
Yeah, like the prisoners are being set up to be the bad guy of this season.
Yeah.
Which, like, fine, whatever. But I want the issues from the last season to be resolved before we have a new bad guy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like a lot of series do that. They very obviously introduce the new conflict before the, millions of other,
Right.
ends of plots are tied up. See Deathly Hallows.
Right. Well, I imagine, like, they could tell these 3 separate stories for a good portion of the season.
They don't.
I know, but they could, because, like, the bunker, maybe they don't know it's safe to go out, and then the Ark has no way of communicating because something's wrong with the radios. And, like, now Clark is with these prisoners. Like, they have to introduce probably one more thing, either, like, a common threat to the prisoners and Clark, or, like, maybe Clark lets it slip that there's a bunker. I don't know. There's got to be something.
Right.
If it's just Clark and the prisoners right now, and, maybe Clark doesn't become one of their prisoners, then they have to be working together for something.
Maybe they'll kill her. They won't. She's gonna live forever.
Right.
She annoys the shit out of me. She's so dramatic.
I know. And the people on the Ark, at least, know about that ship. They just had no way of contacting them.
Yeah, they saw it going to Earth. Yeah. Yeah, because they're like, maybe we can piggyback. And we can...
So maybe that'll be what they do.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Who's to say?
I can't see them lasting much longer if they keep them separate.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, the show was, like, struggling for ratings towards the end of the last season anyway, because so many people boycotted after Alexa.
Yeah. Well, I get that.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, they did build up to it.
Yeah, like, what we decided on when we were talking about it was that it's shitty that they did it, but it wasn't just out of the blue.
Right.
Like, it was clearly something was gonna happen to Lexa.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean...
I think the proximity and time of, like, Lexa and Clark getting together made it worse.
That was really
I think
bad.
if there was more time, especially if they had more time together, then, she would feel the weight of that even more. Mm-hmm. So that when spoilers, bring her back for the scene in the AI simulation thing, it would be so much cooler. Yeah,
and I mean, like... The kill your gaze thing has been or bury your gaze, I think is what it's called. It's been around.
I think it's kill your gaze.
Okay. Maybe
kill your darlings is what it's called. But...
It's been around forever, and people are just sort of starting to be cognizant and to speak out when tropes are bad and should be ended. So this is sort of just like, it was a show that was fairly popular with millennials because there was a lot of queer representation there for a little while. Yeah. And then sort of systematically, most of the queer characters started getting killed off. Yeah. And then Lexa was... Yeah, I mean, minutes after they had sex for the first time.
Yeah, they just killed her off.
She's just gone. Yeah. Like, yeah, that was really bad. People reasonably freaked out about it. Yeah. So, it fucked their ratings. So if they don't bring this show back to something interesting, then I don't know.
Which is a shame, because it has potential. Like, I mean, end of the world shit always has potential, because there are so many new places you can go. And since they went from, like, okay, we're a bunch of delinquent kids that, like, are being tested, like, we're being the guinea pigs for this can we live back on Earth thing. You have sort of a Lord of the Flies storyline going on, and then the adults are up in space, and then they're like, well, we can survive up here for a little bit, but once we know it's safe to go down, we'll go down, and then you have the 2 different worlds colliding, and, like, every step of the way, it made sense. Like, there are other people that were on Earth first.
Yeah, like and Mount Weather being brought into it.
And then, like, the AI thing was sort of out of left field, but at the same time, makes a bit of sense.
It was absolutely crazy, but it worked well within the context of this show that's absolutely crazy.
And, like, not only the AI, but the creator of the AI making Nightbloods and the whole Commander storyline
together. Like, that was...
It was very well told, and, like, for a CW show...
I mean, it was stuff that you didn't see coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, for a CW show.
Right. Like... While still keeping in that same, like, genre of...
Yeah, like, the show had so much potential, and I'm worried that it has already shattered all away.
And that's the problem, is because we're not going to watch it live to contribute to the ratings, so...
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not that invested.
No. I would just like a few of the characters to, like, make it through, like Bellamy and Octavia.
Bellamy, Octavia, Monty.
Monty, for sure. Kane and
Abby. Secondary.
Care about Abby.
Yeah, that's true.
Abby was jerk in one of the other seasons. Kane at least was a jerk in the beginning, but then like
Got
learned.
fast.
Like there was character development.
Right.
Even Murphy to some extent.
Yeah. I'm curious about what's going on now.
Yeah, like I still don't 100% know if he's like a good guy.
He's sort of being painted as a survivor. Like he does what he needs to do.
Right, and he realizes that.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
But all right.
Okay.
So for a quick 100 thing, that
you know.
was well, like the 100 just is very topical. Like there's a lot you can talk about it.
Yeah. But the other
kind
thing,
of show it is. But yeah, so
we've also been watching iZombie, which I think we touched on a little bit last week.
I think so. It might have been last week.
Might have been the week before.
I don't know. We got through, the seasons pretty quickly.
Last week was Infinity War. So if we talked about iZombie, it was the week before.
Yeah.
But so we are caught up on iZombie.
To what's current.
I
don't know what day it comes out.
I don't either.
Yeah.
And it's another one that's sort of gotten to the point where like, okay, we could keep watching.
I mean, so that's the thing though, is that, at least with season 1, I think, it kind of was slow halfway through. Mm-hmm. But then once we got to the latter half, it started having like a plot.
Yeah.
Like there was a plot from the beginning, but it wasn't gripping enough, or we didn't understand it enough to like get what the show was aiming towards.
Right.
Because it does present itself as very much like 30 minutes or 45 minutes?
It's 45.
A 45-minute, like, let's solve a crime.
Yeah,
I
like
eat the
Monster
brain.
of the Week style.
Like... I eat the brain, I gain visions, let's solve this crime and put away bad guys.
And so what normally happens is you do that long enough to establish the show, and then it gets a capital P plot that's going to carry you through that season and the next, and so on and so forth.
Right.
And iZombie got a big plot, but it never phased out that Monster of the Week style, which there was a lot happening. Like at one point there was the Max Rager plot, there was whatever was going on with Mr. Boss, there was what else? Like Major and Liv were always something.
Yeah, there was like because Liv is a zombie and her fiance, whose ex-fiance wasn't, like there was that point of contention. But then, there's zombies are becoming a thing and Major's been kept out of the loop. So like once he starts figuring out, the kids that I was watching like at this shelter.
He's like a youth counselor for like in trouble youth.
And the some of the youth were starting to disappear and he was like concerned about it, so he started looking into it.
Because it was kids that wouldn't just run away.
Yeah. They were kids that he knew and like they wouldn't run away.
They were on good paths.
Yeah. Like headed in the right directions and
it's all kids from this like one specific like skate park that are disappearing without a trace.
So he goes and asks questions and eventually like it leads them to this one guy who basically he finds out zombies are a thing and he decides he's going to take them on himself.
But then somebody tells him that like definitively zombies are not real. If you are telling me that you saw what you think you saw, you need to like seek psychiatric help. And Liv, who is a zombie and is still very close to Major at this point, does not correct that. And Major goes into like a psychiatric care facility because he firmly believes that he's losing his mind because he's like, I know that I saw that and it can't be real and you're telling me that it's not real. So and then eventually like he's not let in on it, but he finds more evidence to suggest that there are zombies and they're operating out of this butcher shop called Meat Cute, and like he goes after them. He buys guns and like a grenade and like goes in guns blazing and like ends up at the end of that, spoilers, he kills almost all of them except Blaine, I think is the last one. Yeah, I think so. And then Blaine like stabs him fatally, air quotes, and Major's bleeding out, and then Liv shows up and turns him into a zombie.
Yeah, and that starts a whole new plot for season 2.
Right. Which, so it's cool, it's gripping, but we are still spending so much of each episode on this Monster of the Week crime drama thing.
And that doesn't always have to be the way it goes.
Like, you can phase that part out now that we're attached.
Unless the crime or the Monster of the Week comes back to the plot somehow, which in some cases it did, But more often than not, it didn't. Like,
right, it just wasn't relevant.
There was never a time where they're like, oh, we have a dead body here, and it's zombies have done it. Like, and only we can know that it's zombies because even our police officer detective doesn't know zombies are a thing.
Most of the time.
But yeah, then you have the Max Rager thing where it's like a PR
So there's this
nightmare.
energy drink that, like, apparently the boat party where Liv got turned into a zombie, people were drinking this Max Rager energy drink and taking this drug utopium that was cut in a weird way that the people at that party were getting the weird utopium and the Max Rager, and many of them turned into zombies.
Right. And like the Max Rager already had reports of turning like regular people into like adrenaline, like rage fueled people.
Very violent episodes while on this energy drink.
Yeah, just the energy drink.
Right.
But then you throw this weird cut of utopium in, and it turns them into like brain-eating zombies where they're just ripping people apart.
Right.
Which causes sort of this zombie outbreak. And so like Max Rager knows that, you know, their energy drink causes this side effect. I don't think they know about zombies at first.
Right. I think they find out.
Yeah.
But again, there's so much going on.
There was a lot going on. But then they like hire Major to hunt zombies.
Because Ravi, who works in the morgue with Liv, comes up with a zombie cure. And one of the side effects of the cure
is that you can sort of detect a zombie.
You can detect zombies. So they find out, Max Rager finds out that Major has this ability. They don't know the rest of the backstory. I don't remember why at that point. Was there just not enough of the cure for Liv to take it, or had it not been tested? Like,
he didn't have enough. He didn't have enough utopium to recreate the cure.
So Blaine took it.
Yeah.
And Major took it.
Blaine took it as the guinea pig to make sure that it was good, because in the rats it didn't last very long.
Okay.
And I want to say it wasn't for some time that Major took it.
Right. Major was a zombie for a little bit.
Yeah.
But then at some point, he got the cure.
Yeah, I don't know. But that's the point we're trying to make, is there's so much shit that's happened.
It's very convoluted that even major plot points, pardon the pun, like a character that we really like getting turned into a zombie and then turned back to human again just didn't really stick. The other thing about Major is that this guy is like, he looks like he's out of a fucking Nicholas Sparks movie, is one of the jokes that's made in the show. He is just this Adonis-looking guy, and it would be so easy to hate him. But he has a very fleshed out, enjoyable character. He's funny, and he's self-deprecating, and he's just like, he's smart.
Yeah.
So
he's a really cool character.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite characters, I think. He and Ravi.
They're both very strong characters. I don't care so much about Liv, unfortunately.
Yeah, because Liv, like, the thing with the brains, with this version of the zombie story, is that when the zombie ingests the brain, they get sort of the personality and some of the memories of the person whose brain it was, which makes sense from a narrative standpoint, but from a having to watch it, she's someone different every week. Yeah,
so very rarely can we tell who she is being when she's speaking to a character, so much so that they don't even know. Like, they're like, I know you're on a different brain, and like, it's like, no, but this is me, and it's like, no, it's not. It's
and like, for the
personality.
cinematic value of it, the traits that she's assuming are always over the top to the point where
especially lately.
Yeah, to the point where it's really annoying. Yeah. Like, she can't get through a conversation.
She's been like cartoon characters.
Yeah.
Like this dude that worked at, or not even worked at a Renaissance fair, but did like live action role playing. Yeah. So she spoke in like ye old English the whole episode.
Whole time. It was
didn't break
so
character.
Annoying.
And then there's another episode where she eats the brain of a rap artist, and she didn't go as hard with like an accent, but like she would wear these like thug clothes and like rap every other scene or something really like that. It was very weird, but like she also doesn't retain any of these abilities or anything, so it's kind of just like I've done this and then we forget about it for the next thing.
Right. The season that we're on now, like, there's so much potential for interesting things to be happening because what has happened is there's a corporation. Fillmore Graves.
Fillmore Graves, thank you. Bought out Max Rager.
Right.
Because, well, they give some bullshit reason, but the real reason is because they know their energy drink creates zombies and stuff. But also, Fillmore Graves, as the corporation, is a corporation of zombies.
Right, zombie run.
Yeah.
Like...
And they sort of end up being, I don't know how, but like the authoritarian police state.
Well, because what happens is that they get all of these people infected with the zombie virus.
No, I know that, but I don't know why people just assume, like, have them assume power.
Because what happens is, there's a flu outbreak, so they, like the CDC tells everyone to get vaccinated, and then in the throes of the vaccination and people starting, so Fillmore Graves tampers with the vaccinations.
Right. They put the zombie virus in the vaccinations to turn those who get it into zombies.
So in the throes of people starting to turn, Chase Graves goes on TV and explains what's happening, what the plan is, what they're going to do about it. I think it's sort of just a situation of somebody saying, we're going to be in charge. And it's such a chaotic, confusing time that, like, there's a calm, rational, reasonably good-looking person saying, this is what we're going to do.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. It seemed... Because what they end up doing is quarantining, basically, Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle is, like, walled off from the rest of the world.
Literally, there's walls up, and, like, these people, there's a curfew in place, and, like, yeah, you can't even go outside of Seattle.
Right.
Unless you have very special authorization.
Because they're trying to keep the zombie virus contained.
Right, which is weird since they spread it, but...
I think the idea is to eventually spread it.
Probably, that would be their motive.
Right.
I also think, because when we meet Fillmore Graves, or that's not his name is something Graves.
Chase Graves,
yes, you did just say that. He is acting, I don't know the name of it, like the position he has. For all intents and purposes, let's say the president of Fillmore Graves.
Sure.
His sister is killed by, like, these anti-zombie activists, who are like, I'd rather have a bullet in my head than be turned into a zombie, and, like, blah, 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 blah,
No,
blah.
it wasn't anti-zombie activists that killed her. It was the woman who worked at Fillmore Graves, who was trying to... The woman who was president, her plan was Zombie Island.
Yeah.
But the woman who was part of this, like, within Fillmore Graves resistance group.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
There was some political
There was
bullshit
some crazy political maneuvering, but yeah, so the former president is killed, Chase Graves takes over, and is sort of stuck with this plan B option, because they've already, it's this, like, crazy extremist group has already activated, sort of.
Okay, I forgot about all that shit.
Yeah.
But, like, it's very confusing, like, when you're watching it, though, it sort of makes sense. Sort of. Trying to recount it on, a second thought.
Because we're jumping around.
Yeah.
But so the part that could be interesting is that we are they're calling it New Seattle, which is zombie run. And there are still humans and zombies. And the idea is that they will be able to live peacefully. Yeah. And that the brains that the zombies need to survive will be donated by people who have died, like, all around the country and the world. So nobody's murdering for these brains. No. And they're also being, like, ground up into, like, a paste, so you don't get, like, the personalities and the memories that live.
Like a Go-Gurt style tube.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. But what's also happening is that the more zombies there are, the less food there is to feed them. So there's, like, a very strict, like, not spreading zombie viruses.
It's a capital offense.
Yeah. Like,
according to Fillmore Graves, to turn somebody into a zombie. Yeah. Because there is a brain shortage. Right. Chase Graves always looks like he's about 30 seconds from either raging out or just shooting himself in the head. Like, that poor man. I go back and forth on how I feel about him.
I do too. Because I didn't like him at the beginning, but then, like, there were some things he would do that I was like, okay. And then, it always goes back and forth.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't care as much about Liv anymore. No. Major is still really interesting.
Yeah, because
he's making some questionable choices, but there's a lot going on.
But he's doing it for reasons.
Yeah.
Like, there's a plot to why he's making these choices.
Yeah.
The only thing, like, so there's this other plot point of this, like, underground railroad type situation where they're trying to get people who are sick outside of Seattle, smuggle them into Seattle so that Liv can scratch them to cure them of their disease.
Right, and Liv took over for the woman who was doing it,
right.
who Fillmore Graves executed, because they found out she was doing it.
Like, people that are moments from death, basically.
Yeah, I mean, like, a guy had Parkinson's, and some, a baby's mother had cancer or something. I don't know, it's ridiculous. There's a lot going on.
Right, but, like, there's a political aspect to it as well. Like, not only are there people... There are, like, bars and stuff where it's, like, zombie-free zone and shit like that are very against having zombies. Yeah. Then there's the plot we didn't even touch on with the zombie church that's going on.
With Teabag from Prison Break.
I know.
I saw him. He showed up and I literally screamed. Like, I hate him.
I told Hillary, like, because I looked it up on IMDb, I was looking for something. And then I found out Robert Nemper, who plays... Teabag on Prison Break is in the show, and I'm like, oh. She's like, what? And I was like, there's gonna be somebody you recognize on this show. She's like trying to get me to tell her who it is, and then I was like, because I had found out that not only was he going to be on the show, but he was going to be a regular character in season 4, which we were about to watch.
Right.
And that he's Blaine's father, which makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Like, it was all building up to just awesome. And I was so glad because he's such a good actor, but his characters are always so awful. And in this show, he plays this, like, born-again zombie who,
he started this, like, zombie church, this preaching zombie
like,
supremacy.
/cult.
Like... It's crazy.
It's so crazy. But that's my point, is there are a lot of political aspects to it of, like, zombie and human cohabitation. Like, the point of, like, people who are in a zombie-human couple, they can't, have sex because it'll transmit
the zombie virus.
So, either they make that choice on their own or they just live in this, like, loveless sort of...
Well, sexless.
Sexless, sorry. Love and sex, it's fine.
And, like, the political stuff would be so interesting to, like, just focus on that. But the thing is, we're still fucking doing Monster of the Week style murders.
And especially now with the city being walled off, like, nobody should be committing murders within the walls. Like, there's so much other stuff going on. If they're not murdering, like, human on human murders, there should be more, like, zombie on human murders and human on zombie murders that, like, raises that political tension more.
And it should all be related.
That's what,
But we've had so many, like, all of them are still just not related to a bigger plot.
Right. And
it wastes a lot of time.
I know. And, I can't even remember the whole, like, so Blaine stole these cures to turn zombies into humans and turned a very well-known zombie into a human and then murdered him so that he could sell the zombie
that
cure.
The cures work so he could sell it.
So I'm curious where that's going, but like, there's a lot going on. We're only on episode 9
of season 4.
And if I'm correct, most of the seasons... I mean, seasons 1 and 3 only had, like, 13 episodes.
Right.
Season 2 had 19.
Right.
So we don't have that much more either way.
Yeah, and there's not really an overarching plot of this season.
There's some with the Blaine storyline. Other than that, I don't think there is. Yeah. I mean, Major's, like, keeping an eye on that
this guy that I don't remember anything significant about.
He was just doing, like, back dealings in Fillmore Graves, like... black market shit, and like they want Chase Graves wants Major to keep an eye on him, and then the church thing, like the church thing is sort of just like a side plot, but it's not like they're actively going towards something.
Right, there's not like a judgment day.
Yeah, and it's not like that would be cool though.
Yeah,
there's not like Teabags actually has all of his wits together and is trying to come up with this huge plan to overthrow Blaine or some shit.
Unless he is.
I mean, maybe, but I don't think so, the way he's been acting.
So there's a lot happening.
iZombie's worth watching, at least.
Yeah.
It'll keep you, like, at least going, like, what the fuck is happening?
And some of the characters are really likable.
Yeah.
Like, Major's great, Robbie's great, Peyton's pretty interesting.
All right. Yeah. Ali Mashaka.
Yeah. Mashaka.
Isn't that her last name?
Mashalka?
I don't know. I remember on Disney Channel they pronounce it Mashaka.
Well, it's possible. You watch more Disney Channel than I did.
I did, yes. She was in the movie Now You See Me. It's about a magic show. It's fine.
Figured.
Yeah, but it was like real magic.
What other characters are there?
I don't know. I mean, Blaine...
I don't care about Blaine.
I like Blaine. I think I like Blaine as an actor more than I like his character.
Yeah, I think the problem with Blaine that I've talked to you about is like there's sort of, the first time you saw him, you were like, oh, it's Spike from Buffy.
Because he was very much Spike.
But the thing with Spike is that, like, we meet Spike and, like, yeah, he's funny, but he's doing these, like, heinous, vile, evil things. But Blaine sort of, like, fizzles from that very quickly. If he's ever actually that vile. Like, he's trying to make money. But...
Look, he was evil in season 1. I think it does start going at season 2, but there's that whole, like, Blaine lost his memory storyline.
But that's just stupid. But like...
It actually happens, and then he gains it back, but then he's like, I have this new life, and I don't want to blow it up.
But he gets, like, gentle, and they're trying to make him likable so fast. The thing with Spike... is that he's evil up until something happens where it is physically impossible for him to be evil anymore. And then he's still, like, the same personality, just without this core thing.
When I said he was Spike, I hadn't seen a lot of Spike. Just that what you've told me is, like, well, from what I've seen of Spike in seasons 1 and 2.
Right.
And then, like, you're like, yeah, but he becomes good, and I love Spike because he has this turning point and, like, all this other stuff. And I was like, well, Blaine has some of the same character qualities.
He has the look.
He very much has the look.
Yeah.
And, like, has some of the same qualities throughout a lot of the show. But, yeah, he always reverts back to being, quote-unquote, evil.
But he's not even really evil. He's just,
murdered the
gently
mayor.
Annoying.
You don't think murdering the mayor just to make money?
The mayor was a bad dude.
The mayor wasn't a bad dude.
The mayor was a dominatrix on the side.
That's not bad. That's just kinky.
It's not great. I think he was married.
Yeah. So morally, maybe questionable.
Right.
But, like, he wasn't, like, using it for political corruption.
I think Fillmore Graves is up to something bad.
I think so, too.
And the mayor was his figurehead. Or Fillmore Graves' figurehead.
No, I think the mayor was very much like Dex Hart. From Parks and Recreation.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, but Dex Hart was harmless. He was just...
Dex Hart was awful.
He was a sexist, misogynist, like...
I would have killed
everyone.
him.
Yeah, but that's not... being just, like, bad towards women. Listen.
Watch your words.
Is not the same as being, like, globally bad. Like... So, like, cheating is shitty for the people that you're cheating on.
But it's not just cheating. It's being a bad person.
But he's not a bad person, is what I'm saying. He's not making bad, like... I think...
As far as we know, he's not murdering anyone.
Right,
but
that's bad. That's bad behavior. That makes you a bad person.
Sexism is bad behavior, and it makes you a bad person.
Okay. That's not untrue. But, like... He's not hurting anyone, is what I'm trying to say.
He's hurting his wife.
If his wife doesn't know...
His wife doesn't know.
You don't know that she doesn't know.
There was some whole big thing about when the dominatrix got mentioned, and he got all, like, cagey, and was like, you can't make a big deal about it, and they thought that he was the one that murdered her.
I think it's more of a political thing. I think he doesn't want to...
he's politically a bad dude.
I don't think he's politically a bad dude.
It doesn't matter. The point is, the stuff that Blaine is doing is annoying at best.
You're right. This wasn't even about the
He's not a compelling bad guy.
He is, though.
I don't find him compelling.
Well, you just hate him because I compared him to Spike, and you love Spike more than you like Blaine.
Yeah.
Yeah. That has nothing to do with Blaine as a character.
It has a lot to do with
It's the one
Blaine
comparison
as a
I made
Blaine's
in the
boring
beginning.
And I hate him.
Blaine's not boring.
Blaine's super boring.
No, he's not.
Okay.
Liv is boring.
Liv is boring. Also, her name is Liv Moore. Olivia Moore.
Yeah.
A lot of the names are like that. Major Lillywhite is just stupid. Fillmore Graves.
But Major Lillywhite isn't the same thing. It's just a dumb name.
What if I turn the mic off right now?
Then our show would just cut out.
Bye.
You're just done talking because I'm right.
You're not right.
I am right.
You're annoying at best.
Well, then me and Blaine have something in
Great,
common.
you can go fuck off together.
I will.
Great.
He'll keep me well fed.
And warm at night.
Yeah. No, he probably is very cold. I imagine
You
zombies
just think
have
so 'cause
cold-blooded.
he's dead.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. He is still a zombie. At
I
this
think
point,
so.
right?
I was trying
to remember if he took the cure.
No, because he ate a brain in one of the recent
That's right.
episodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of somebody plot significant.
Yeah.
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 Who I don't remember because there's too much happening.
Yeah. But it's still a good show that you should watch at least. At least seasons 3. Seasons 1 through 3. Yeah.
Watch the seasons 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I think that was a good episode.
I think it was an okay episode.
Why?
It was great.
Fine. I'm your host, Matthew the Dr. Danko.
Your co-host, Hillary Crum.
Until next time.
Bye.
Once the show ends, please don't shed those tears. We'll come back again, so have no fear. Oh, we told you that it just might end up this way. What's the show called again? You cannot be saying, why didn't you warn me? Why didn't you warn me now? Why didn't you warn me? Why didn't you warn me? Why didn't you warn me? Why didn't you warn me now?